Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. And keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. All right, folks, here we are on Wednesday, January 22nd. We're going to take a look at SoFi today. With earnings only a few days away, SoFi is doing the thing that we've seen SoFi do plenty of times in the past. You see this period here, right? You see this period here, and didn't happen so much here, but plenty of times where it ran up ahead of earnings. This time sort of ran up and then ran back down. Huge run up here ahead of this earnings. So we have seen this several times in the past with SoFi, and it's doing it again. Topping out at 1810 recently. I cleaned up the chart a ton, which means I did get rid of a bunch of levels that we've had on the chart for a long time, but that's okay. I think this is just a cleaner, easier view to look at. And so these are just the strongest levels that I see on the chart. So also I whittled it down here to, what do we have? Just 6 levels. So 6 instead of 16. But the hope there is that it's just easier to see everything that's happening. And then also, I'm not putting in sort of secondary levels that might not be as strong. These are the ones to me that look very, very strong. So the nearest in level, 1745. If it continues to push the next few days into earnings, 1866 and 1936 look like strong resistance levels to me, but I don't want to be super hopium here, because people take it and run with it and get too crazy with it. But I will say, don't fear the strong resistance above the stock price. The strong resistance flips to strong support. So it's actually, in the long run, a good thing. The question is always, does it turn it away at some point and sort of like lead to a longer term sort of drawback, pullback, or consolidation period, So we've seen plenty of pain with SoFi in the past, right? You see just tremendous downturns, period after period, but it's on a really impressive upswing at the moment. Several earnings sort of into this upswing. If we count sort of back here, and then it drew down a little bit, but then it's way more than made up for the drawing down and the consolidation within this period. It's really come out of there quite explosively. So yeah, 1866, 1936 to the upside. What I'm seeing, 1745, it's going to have to confirm that as support, or maybe give it a strong eyeball if it does look like it's flipping that to resistance, as then it may push downward. And if it does so, if it pulls back some into earnings, 1584, 1422, and then 1325. Now, the other question that I always have when we see something like this headed into earnings is how much of a good earnings call is going to be priced in. And, some traders get very confused when there seems to be sort of like on par or good earnings and the stock price pulls back, or it's basically flat. I'd kind of be surprised if SoFi has a flat reaction to earnings. To me, it either looks like that rocket's going to want to keep moonshotting or there is going to be this perception of a decent earnings report or an on-par earnings report isn't enough to account for the more than 2x that the stock price has gone up since the previous earnings, and it's going to sort of get punished a little bit for that. So we'll see. But just making a note of that here. Now, EMAs wise, we did see this brief period where we had a bearish crossover here, many, many, many times in the past. That would have spelled like a race toward this 183 EMA. For SoFi, we see it spending a lot of time at the 183 back here, being pinned underneath in that prolonged bearish period, from about $8 down to $6, as we see there. But here we see that bearish turn. It really, really brought it down, right? Brought the house down, if you will. But this time, this is a more impressive move. Even with this lengthy run up from mid sixes, or if you drop back to here to 601, all the way up to like triple the price now, with that bearish crossover back here a few days ago, it got nowhere near the 183 EMA and sort of consolidated right where I consolidated. You see this 1360, you see where my cursor is here, and you see the line that heads to the left. You can see the same consolidation zone here is where it got picked up on that little dip and pushed back above and just threw everything back into bullish formation. So really impressive move at the moment, and is, giving me kind of the hopes, if you will, that maybe there is sort of a more sustained effort that can be had here. You do see if it doesn't get picked up in that range, let's draw this from like the 601. Yeah. That view is not as helpful at the moment because that gives us a bunch of volume where the price action isn't. This, I think, probably gives us a clearer view. But you see, if it doesn't get picked up in that 13-ish range, it does get really thin as it approaches 13 and then down to like low 11s. And that is closer in to where the 183 is at the moment. Right about there, 1113, right? So it's right at the tippy top of this volume shelf here. So, just a note that it gets very thin through here. There was that gap that, I don't know if it got filled. Let's see. Oops. It got filled maybe with these wicks. This was a low of 1301. This was a high of 1301. So it just closed it on this wick. And not on this wick. So, that's why the volume's really thin through there. We'll see if that acts as a gap, even though it's sort of closed. But, that's why it gets really thin through here. So it's just to say, if this like mid 13s doesn't hold in sometime in the near future, it is pretty thin through there. So just something to maybe have on your radar. Bunch of shares are profitable as of close today. And so again, we'll see how many folks are willing to just keep buying in, keep letting that ride, what the push can look like, and where that push is going to come from. It's going to be current stockholders essentially averaging up, or is it going to be large scale orders from institutions and what have you that help drive the flow. Huge large scale out on the 17th of January, and then still a decent amount yesterday, and then coming in pretty solid today. Not as strong as we saw mid-January, but so a little bit of wavy gravy here. A couple days up, a couple days down, now we're back up. So we'll see which way those large-scale orders want to settle. I don't know, what those institutions and large buyers are going to do headed into earnings, but that'll be interesting to kind of keep an eye on and see. Flipping over here to the think or swim side of things, really good call out here by the TTM squeeze indicator. You can see triggered here, and then it fired, and when it fired, we had the initial move down, caught support here on this initial ATR level, above the mid-13s, sort of that danger zone we just talked about, right? If it can't hold the mid-13s, things could get a little dicey. But, huge percentage gain here on a really quick move, and just a really good call by the TTM squeeze indicator. Trigger, fire, bang, bang. So could have certainly fooled folks and looked like it was headed to the downside here. But, like I said, we've seen plenty of times where SoFi just runs into earnings, and then different things can happen, but we'll see. Now, if it does want to stretch to that full +1 ATR for January, you see the levels here. That is at 1826 at the moment, so 16 cents above where it's topped out at the moment, so nothing tremendous there, but it can certainly stretch well above and beyond that +1 range. There's nothing holding it there, but just a note that if it wants to sort of stay in that range or have a secondary run to reach that, we might see that sort of pop up as well. But kind of fresh into this fire, but also it's done a lot of legwork already, right? Going from mid 13s to 18, like I said, huge percentage gain already in a really short period of time. So I don't know if that'll be the be all end all of it or whatnot, but that would presuppose then that it would sort of be kind of flat or consolidate at the earnings. I could be wrong for sure. I would just be really surprised if it didn't move strongly one way or the other on earnings. I just feel like people are going to either feel like the earnings are way overpriced in and punish it a bit for that, or they're going to be like, oh, hell yeah, this is what we've been waiting for, and this is why we've been running the price up and continuing to buy in and, buy up all these dips and so on and so forth, and we're going to keep on trucking. So like I said, it could be wrong, but that's sort of the sense that I have. All right, folks, so I hope that you had a happy hump day. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.